Welcome back to the Cynthia Clark Book Club. We are on chapter 4 of The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. If you need a copy of the book, you can go to my website, which is posted, and if you click on the picture or the image of the book, it will give you a free download that you can read at home, or you can buy it online. I bought one online from Walmart.com, or you can just go to the bookstore. I got this one, which includes all of her books, which is like 4 or 5 in one book. And if you go to Walmart.com, you can get something similar, all of her books in one book, very inexpensively. So we're on chapter 4. And the way it works is this: I post the video on Facebook. And if there's something in this chapter or something in the book that you want to talk about, you post a comment and we'll just have a conversation. Otherwise, I'll just continue to do something that I love to do anyway, which is reading. So we're going to get into chapter 4, which is called The Law of Non-Resistance. This is a short book with only 10 chapters. So let me read the chapters off to you. The first chapter we read was The Game. Chapter 2, The Law of Prosperity. Chapter 3, The Power of the Word. Chapter 4, which is what I'm reading now, The Law of Non-Resistance. Chapter 5, The Law of Karma and the Law of Forgiveness. 6, Casting the Burden and Pressing the Subconscious. 7, Love. 8, Intuition or Guidance. 9, Perfect Self-Expression or the Divine Design. And 10, Denials and Affirmations. So let's get right into chapter 4, which is the Law of Non-Resistance. Some people may think, why is she reading a book? That's so boring. And to a lot of people, it is extremely boring. But believe it or not, there are people that actually go out online and look for books, audiobooks or books that people are reading, so they don't have to read it. They may suffer from dyslexia, or they may have poor eyesight, or they just may prefer to hear it instead of reading. And so guess what? I'm one of those people. So I know there are other people out there like me that are looking for books like this online. And so I think it's cool that I am reading each chapter and posting it on my website. And there are some cool metaphysical books in the public domain that will be posted there as a resource for years to come. So I'm excited about that. But anyway, let's get into the law of non-resistance. It says, resist not evil, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. The Chinese say that water is the most powerful element because it is perfectly non-resistant. It can wear away a rock and sweep all before it. Jesus Christ said, resist not evil, for he knew in reality there is no evil. Therefore, nothing to resist. Evil has come of man's vain imagination, or a belief in two powers, good and evil. There is an old legend that Adam and Eve ate of Maya, the tree of illusion, and saw two powers instead of one power, God. I'm going to read that again. There is an old legend that Adam and Eve ate of Maya, the tree of illusion, and saw two powers instead of one power, God. Therefore, evil is a false law man has made for himself through psychoma or soul sleep. I'm going to read that again using the female principle. Therefore, evil is a false law woman has made for herself through psychoma or soul sleep. Soul sleep means that man's soul has been hypnotized by the race belief of sin, sickness, and death, which is carnal or mortal thought, and his affairs have outpictured his illusions. We have read in a preceding chapter that man's soul is his subconscious mind, and whatever he feels deeply, good or bad, is outpictured by that faithful servant. His body and affairs show forth what he has been picturing. The sick man has pictured sickness, the poor man poverty, the rich man wealth. People often say, why does a little child attract illness when it is too young even to know what it means? I answer that children are sensitive and receptive to the thoughts of others about them, and often outpicture the fears of their parents. I heard a metaphysician once say, if you do not run your subconscious mind yourself, someone else will run it for you. Mothers often unconsciously attract illness and disaster to their children by continually holding them in thoughts of fear and watching for symptoms. For example, a friend asked a man if her little girl had had the measles. A friend asked a woman if her little girl had had the measles. She replied promptly, not yet. This implied that she was expecting the illness and therefore preparing the way for what she did not want for herself and child. However, the man who is centered and established in right thinking, the man who sends out only goodwill to his fellow man, and who is without fear, cannot be touched or influenced by the negative thoughts of others. In fact, he could then receive only good thoughts, as he himself sends forth only good thoughts. Resistance is hell, for it places man in a state of torment. A metaphysician once gave me a wonderful recipe for taking every trick in the game of life. It is the acme of non-resistance. He gave it in this way. At one time in my life, I baptized children. And of course, they had many names. Now, I no longer baptize children, but I baptize events. But I give every event the same name. If I have a failure, I baptize it success in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. In this, we see the great law of transmutation founded on non-resistance. Through his spoken word, every failure was transmuted into success. For me, every time something bad happens or something happens in my life that I don't like, I always look for the good out of it. What lesson did I learn? Did this bad thing prevent me from going down a road that I wasn't supposed to go down? Or was it delaying me from getting somewhere too soon? I don't know if you ever saw that movie, The Adjustment Bureau. I love that movie because of the concept that there are entities out there to make sure that we stay on track. And so I think that that this kind of talks about that. So when something goes wrong, like in that movie, that he was supposed to, one of the entities, I don't know what you want to call it, an angel or whatever, spill coffee, purposely was supposed to spill coffee on a guy to slow him down from getting somewhere too soon. So anyway, I always look at incidents like that in my life as these entities making sure that I stay on track. So anyway, back to the book. For example, a woman who acquired money, who knew the spiritual law of opulence, was thrown continually in a business way with a man who made her feel very poor. He talked lack and limitation, and she commenced to catch his poverty thoughts. So she disliked him and blamed him for her failure. She knew in order to demonstrate her supply, she must first feel that she had received. A feeling of opulence must precede its manifestation. There are sometimes people in my life that get on negative tangents, including me, and I have to catch myself. And when they get on these tangents, sometimes what I want to do is just say, just leave and go away real blunt, because I'm one of those technical analytical people. I'm not like real huggy, kissy kind of person. So I just want to like go and say, you know what, I want to talk about that and leave. I don't know where I was going with that. So anyway, let's keep going. Let's see what she did about this person. She obviously just didn't cut him off. So let's read what she said. It dawned upon her one day that she was resisting the situation and seeing two powers instead of one. So she blessed the man and baptized the situation's success. She affirmed, as there is only one power, God, this man is here for my good and my prosperity. Just what he did not seem to be there for. So these people that I sometimes get in conversations with, and the conversations aren't always negative, but when they go there, it's like what to do. I don't want to hear this crap. So in this case, she's telling herself, as there is only one power, God, this man or person here is here for my good and my prosperity. So when they're there and they're talking negative and I don't want to hear it, I'm supposed to think that they're there to help me. Oh, let's keep going. Just what he did not seem to be there for. Soon after that, she met through this man a woman who gave her for a service rendered several $1,000s. And the man moved to a distant city and faded harmoniously from her life. Make the statement. Every man is a golden link in the chain of my good. For all men are God in manifestation, awaiting the opportunity given by man himself to serve the divine plan of his life. I remember at the office where I used to work, because I'm going to another office now. But the office where I used to work, there was this one guy that was he was just an asshole. He was a straight up asshole. And he used to irritate the hell out of me. And I just dealt with him. I had to snap maybe a couple of times on him. But for the most part, every time I saw him, it was like, oh, Lord, here's so-and-so. And so I don't know where the hell he is now. But the last few times or over the last month or whatever that I went to the office, he just was not there. And so it's amazing how, I don't wish anything bad on him, but just like she said in this book that the guy harmoniously faded from her life. I've seen that happen before, and I'm sure you probably had that happen in your life. So instead of always getting into it with these people, just assume that something good is going to come out of it, number one. And number two, either they'll change or they'll fade away harmoniously from your life. Anyways, here it says, bless your enemy and you rob him of his ammunition. His arrows will be transmuted into blessings. This law is true of nations as well as individuals. Bless a nation, send love and goodwill to every inhabitant, and it is robbed of its power to harm. I'm going to say that again. This law is true of nations as well as individuals. Bless a nation, send love and goodwill to every inhabitant, and it is robbed of its power to harm. This makes me think of the situation in North Korea, how, we're made to believe in the media that they are our enemies and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying it's true or it's false, but what I am saying is based on this right here. In our minds, we should be sending love to the inhabitants of North Korea. And not so much the government, or why not the individuals of the government as well. But instead of thinking that they're our enemy and getting all this fear and anxiety built up within ourselves, why not send them love? What's the Stevie Wonder song, Love in Need or Love Today? Some of all this crap that's going on in the world and in our country may not happen if we learn to love people early in life instead of hating them. Or anyway, let's keep going. Back to the book. A man can only get the right idea of non-resistance through spiritual understanding. My students have often said, I don't want to be a doormat. I reply, when you use non-resistance with wisdom, no one will be able to walk over you. Another example. One day I was impatiently awaiting an important telephone call. I resisted every call that came in and made no outgoing calls myself, reasoning that it might interfere with the one I was awaiting. Instead of saying divine ideas never conflict, the call will come at the right time, leaving it to infinite intelligence to arrange, I commenced to manage things myself. I made the battle mine, not God's, and remained tense and anxious. The bell did not ring for about an hour, and I glanced at the phone and found the receiver had been off that length of time, and the phone was disconnected. My anxiety, fear, and belief in interference had brought on a total eclipse of the telephone. Now, this is back in the 1925 when she was writing this book. So anyway, she said, realizing that what I had done, I commenced blessing the situation at once. I baptized it success and affirmed I cannot lose any call that belongs to me by divine right. I am under grace and not under law. A friend rushed out to the nearest telephone to notify the company to reconnect. She entered a crowded grocery, but the proprietor left his customers and attended to the call himself. My phone was connected at once, and 2 minutes later, I received a very important call, and about an hour afterward, the one I had been awaiting. One ships come in over a calm sea. So long as man resists a situation, he will have it with him. If he runs away from it, it will run after him. For example, I repeated this to a woman one day, and she replied, how true that is. I was unhappy at home. I disliked my mother, who was critical and domineering. So I ran away and was married. But I married my mother, for my husband was exactly like my mother, and I had the same situation to face again. Agree with thine adversary quickly. That means agree that the adverse situation is good. Be undisturbed by it, and it falls away of its own weight. None of these things move me is a wonderful affirmation. The inharmonious situation comes from some inharmony within man. When there is in him no emotional response to an inharmonious situation, it fades away forever from his pathway. So we see man's work is ever with himself. I'll say that again. So we see woman's work is ever with herself. People have said to me, give treatments to change my husband or my brother. I replied, no, I will give treatments to change you. When you change, your husband and your brother will change. One of my students was in the habit of lying. I love this. I told her it was a failure method, and if she lied, she will be lied to. She replied, I don't care. I can't possibly get along without lying. One day, she was speaking on the phone to a man with whom she was very much in love. She turned to me and said, I don't trust him. I know he's lying to me. I replied, well, you lie yourself, so someone has to lie to you. And you will be sure it will be just the person you want the truth from. Sometime after that, I saw her and she said, I'm cured of lying. I questioned, what cured you? She replied, I have been living with a woman who lied worse than I do. One is often cured of his own faults by seeing them in others. Life is a mirror, and we find only ourselves reflected in our associates. Living in the past is a failure method and a violation of spiritual law. Jesus Christ said, behold, now is the accepted time. Now is the day of salvation. Lot's wife looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt. The robbers of time are the past and the future. Man should bless the past and forget it if it keeps him in bondage, and bless the future, knowing it has in store for him endless joys, but live fully in the now. For example, a woman came to me complaining that she had no money with which to buy Christmas gifts. She said, last year was so different. I had plenty of money and gave lovely presents, and this year I have scarcely a cent. I replied, You will never demonstrate money while you are pathetic and live in the past. Live fully in the now and get ready to give Christmas presents. Dig your ditches and the money will come. She exclaimed, I know what to do. I will buy some tinsel twine, Christmas seal, and wrapping paper. I replied, do that, and the presents will come and stick themselves to the Christmas seals. This too was showing financial fearlessness and faith in God, as the reasoning mind said, keep every cent you have, as you are not sure you will get any more. She bought the seals, paper, and twine, and a few days before Christmas received a gift of several $100s. Buying the seals and twine had impressed the subconscious with expectancy and opened the way for the manifestation of the money. She purchased all the presents in plenty of time. Man must live suspended in the moment. Look well, therefore, to this day. Such is the salutation of the dawn. He must be spiritually alert, ever waiting his leads, taking advantage of every opportunity. She must be spiritually alert, ever awaiting her leads, taking advantage of every opportunity. I'm really focusing on paying attention to the signs and the leads. I know exactly what I want. And I know that the universe is going to lead me directly to what I want. And it's going to do it through people saying certain things to me, me being inspired to do certain things, just little signs and confirmations to let me know I'm on the right track to get what I want. Anyway, let's keep going. I don't know where I left off. Man must live suspended in the moment. Oh, here we go. One day I said continually, silently, Infinite Spirit, don't let me miss a trick. And something very important was told to me that evening. It is most necessary to begin the day with the right words. Make an affirmation immediately upon waking. For example, thy will be done this day. Today is a day of completion. I give thanks for this perfect day. Miracle shall follow miracle, and wonder shall never cease. One of the things that I do in the morning now is listen to that song, My Favorite Things by John Coltrane. So it just gets me in a good mood to think about my favorite things and the things that I want to attract into my life. So I listen to it in the morning. I listen to it before I go to bed. I listen to it when I'm washing dishes. Anyway, let's keep going. Make this a habit, and one will see wonders and miracles come into his life. One morning, I picked up a book and read, Look with wonder at that which is before you. It seemed to be my message for the day. So I repeated again and again, Look with wonder at that which is before you. At about noon, a large sum of money was given me, which I had been desiring for a certain purpose. In a following chapter, I will give affirmations that I have found most effective. However, one should never use an affirmation unless it is absolutely satisfying and convincing to his own consciousness. And often, an affirmation is changed to suit different people. For example, the following has brought success to me. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. I'll read that again. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. I gave the first two lines to one of my students, and she added the last two. It made a most powerful statement, as there should always be perfect payment for perfect service, and a rhyme sinks easily into the subconscious. She went about saying it aloud and soon did receive wonderful work in a wonderful way, and she gave wonderful service for wonderful pay. Another student, a businessman, took it and changed the word work to business. He repeated, I have a wonderful business in a wonderful way, and I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. That afternoon, He made a $41,000 deal, though he had though there had been no activity in his affairs for months. Every affirmation must be carefully worded and completely cover the ground. For example, I knew a woman who was in great need and made a demand for work. She received a great deal of work, but was never paid anything. She now knows to add wonderful service for wonderful pay. It is man's divine right to have plenty, more than enough. His barn should be full and his cup should flow over. This is God's idea for man. And when man breaks down the barriers of lack in his own consciousness, the golden age will be his and every righteous desire of his heart fulfilled. I'm going to read that last paragraph one more time. It is woman's divine right to have plenty, more than enough. Her barn should be full and her cup should flow over. This is God's idea for woman. And when woman breaks down the barriers of lack in her own consciousness, the golden age will be hers and every righteous desire of her heart fulfilled.